Hello, welcome back to part 2, 1.5, solving equations. So in this video, we are going to look at solving more complex equations where we need to maybe simplify before we start solving, or use the distributive property before we start solving, or maybe we need to clear fractions before solving, or maybe even 2 or 3 of those things that I just mentioned before we start solving. Okay. All right. So 1.5 part 2. Okay. So here we're going to take a look at solving equations. Here, let me just write that down. Solving equations. So this first example, we're going to take a look at simplifying first before we start solving. So when I say simplify, I mean like combine like terms. Okay, so let's take a look at this example here. Suppose that I have 4x minus 7 plus 2x equals 1 plus 2x plus 8. Okay, so a little longer than the ones that we saw in the first video, but so long as you combine the like terms on each side, then we can easily make it look like the other one. Okay, so let's start with this left-hand side here. So before we start solving, before we start using those properties of equality, let's see if we can simplify each side. So are there any like terms on this side? Yes. We see we have 4x and positive 2x. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and combine these two. Okay, so we're going to add 4x plus 2x. And we get 6x minus 7. And then we're going to look on this side. Okay, so here we have 1 plus 2x plus 8. So we are going to combine the 1 plus 8. Okay, so now we have each side simplified. So now we can go ahead and start solving. Okay, so here, if you notice, we have variables on both sides. Okay, so what we need to do here is get them on the same side. So we'll need to cancel one of these. We have a 6x here and a 2x here. So you can do one of two things. You could cancel the 6x by subtracting 6x here and here. Or you can cancel out this plus 2x by subtracting 2x here and here. Okay, so, but again, keep in mind you have two sides, left side, right side, and what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Okay, so it doesn't matter which one you decide on. If you decide to subtract 6x on both sides, that's fine. You'll still, everybody will get the same answer at the end. If you do subtract 2x on both sides, you'll get the same answer. Okay, so I am going to choose to subtract the 2x. Okay, so that will cancel here. And then that will leave me with 4x minus 7 on the left-hand side, and 9 will be left on the right-hand side. Okay, so now this looks like the equation that we saw in the first video. Very simple, two-step problem. So I'm going to add 7 on both sides. They cancel out here. And so on the left-hand side, I have 4x. On the right-hand side, I get 16. And now I can divide both sides by 4. So I'm going to divide this side by 4 and this side by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So I get 1x equals 16 divided by 4 is 4. Okay. So simplifying by combining like terms, that's one type. Another one is where you have to use the distributive property. So let's take a look at that. So we'll have to do the distributive property, and then we're going to have to simplify, combine like terms. Then we can solve. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. Suppose that I have to solve d minus 3 times d minus 7 equals 2 times 4d plus 10. Okay, so here we have to do the distributive property over here, and we also have to do the distributive property over here. Okay, so over here on the right hand side, we are distributing 2. So we have to multiply everything inside the parentheses by 2. Over here, we have to multiply everything inside the parentheses here by -3. So be careful, that's a -3 that you have to do the distributive property with. Okay, so I'm going to bring down the d. I'm going to distribute the -3. So I get -3d, and I get positive 21. And on the right-hand side, I get 8d plus 20. Okay, so now I need to combine like terms, simplify. So over here on the left-hand side, I can combine the 1d and then minus 3d. So 1 minus 3 is -2. Okay, so here we see that we have variables on both sides. We have a 2d, -2d here, and we have an 8d here. So I need to cancel one of them. So again, you have 2 choices here, and it doesn't matter which one you use, but you can add 2d here and add 2d here. Or you can subtract 8d here and subtract 8d here. Okay, I'm going to add 2d. Here, let me use a different color. Okay, so again, make sure you're doing it on opposite sides. Okay, so you're adding 2d on the left-hand side, you're adding 2d on the right-hand side. Okay, so we get positive 21 on the left, and we get 10d plus 20. Okay, all right, and then here, I just need to get the 10d by itself, so I'm going to subtract 20 on both sides. That will cancel there. And I am left with 1 equals 10d. And now I can divide both sides by 10 to solve for d. Okay, so here d equals to 1 over 10. Okay, and it doesn't matter if you write it like that or if you say d equals 1 over 10. It's the same thing. Okay, very good. Let's take a look at this one. Once you have a try at this, okay, so go ahead and try this one. Solve. 9 times x minus 2 equals negative 6 times 4 minus x plus 18. Okay, so go ahead and hit the pause button, work this one out, and then when you're done, come back and check to see if you got the same answer. All right. If you got x equals 4 for your answer, then you are correct. If you didn't, then watch how I work this out. Okay, I'm going to use the distributive property here, 9 times everything inside the parentheses. So I get 9x minus 18. I am also going to use the distributive property over here. So I'm going to multiply everything inside the parentheses by negative 6. So I get negative 24 plus 6x. And I bring down the plus 18. Okay. I'm going to combine like terms here. Negative 24 plus 18. So bring this down. Negative 24 plus 18 is negative 6. And I'll bring down the plus 6x. Okay, so all I did was combine negative 24 with positive 18. And I got negative 6. Okay, now I can go ahead and start my solving. I have variables on both sides. So I can either subtract 9x on both sides, or I could subtract 6x on both sides. So I will choose to do this, subtract 6x on both sides. By doing that, I end up with 3x minus 18 on the left-hand side, negative 6 on the right-hand side. Now I'm going to go ahead and add 18 to both sides. And that will leave me with 3x equals 12. And now I can divide both sides by 3. And that will give me 4. So x equals 4. Okay. All right. So that's how you use the distributive property and simplifying to solve. Okay. So make sure you work out the distributive property, make sure you combine like terms, and then you can go ahead and start solving. Okay. So here is another type of problem where we have a lot of fractions. And so what we're going to do here is look at solving by clearing fractions. And again, you don't have to clear your fractions if you're comfortable with working with fractions, but this method of clearing your fractions kind of helps to keep the equation a little clean and a little more simplified. Okay, so let's take a look. I think we're on example 4. We're on example 3. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at this one where we have a bunch of fractions. So suppose that I have to solve this. Solve 8 over 5 minus x plus 9 over 2. Oops, I said 2 and I'm going to write something else. Equals x plus 2 over 5 minus 4x. Okay, this is supposed to be a 5. All right, 8 over 5 minus x plus 9 over 2 equals x plus 2 over 5 minus 4x. Okay, so what we're doing here, let me change the size of my ink. Okay, so what we're going to be doing here is clearing our fractions. So we see that we have 3 fractions right over here with denominators 5, 2, and 5. Okay, so what we mean by clearing fractions is getting rid of them. Okay, so we're going to get rid of our fractions here before we start solving. Okay, and the way we do that, you can get rid of fractions by multiplying all terms, even the ones that are not fractions, multiplying all terms by the LCD. Okay, and then here, the LCD is, well, if our denominators are 5, 2, and 5, then our LCD is going to be 10. It has to be a multiple of 5 and 2. So 10 would work, 20 would work, okay, 40 would work, but we want the smallest because who wants to work with big numbers, right? Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply everything. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms, and all 4 of them will get multiplied by 10. Okay, I'm going to rewrite the problem down here. 8 over 5 minus x plus 9 over 2 equals x plus 2 over 5 minus 4x. Okay, so I'm going to multiply everything by 10. Okay, so I'm going to multiply this one by 10. I'm going to multiply this by 10. Here, I'll do it on this side. I'm going to multiply this one by 10. And I'm going to multiply this one by 10. Everything gets multiplied by the LCD. Okay? And so watch what happens here. The fractions will all cancel because you can see here 5 and 10 will cancel, 2 will cancel, 5 will cancel. So that's how we get rid of our fractions. So 5 cancels with the 10, and I'm left with 2. So 2 times 8 is going to be 16. Okay, so we get 16. And then over here, 2 and 10 cancel. Here, I'm just going to keep it with black. 2 and 10 cancel. So now I'm going to distribute -5, right? This is a -5. So I'm going to distribute. That's why it's nice to put the parentheses around the group. Okay. So if you have a single number like right here, the 8, fine, you don't need to do the parentheses. But if you have more than one term, definitely put the parentheses so you don't forget to distribute. Okay, so I get -5x and -45. Okay, next over here, the 10 and the 5 cancel. So I'm going to distribute 2, and I get 2x plus 4. And over here, -10 times 4x is -40x. Okay, and now we see we don't have any fractions, and this is one of the problems that we looked at before where we need to combine like terms first, and then we can start solving. So over here on the left-hand side, 16 minus 45 um, is what you would do first. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and do that. And then over here on the right-hand side, you would, here, let me see if I can get this a little larger. All right. So there we go. Okay. So over here, you would do 16 minus 45. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. 16 minus 45 is -29. And then over here, we have 2x and -40x. So that would give us -38x. Okay, and again, you have x's on both sides. Okay, so here, okay, there we go. So over here, we can either add 5x to both sides, or we can add 38x to both sides. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and choose to add 38x to both sides. And that will cancel these guys. Okay, so I get -29. And that is going to be plus 33x equals 4. Okay, and then I need to get the 33x by itself, so I'm going to add 29 on both sides. I get 33x equals 33, and divide both sides by 33 to cancel here. And we see that x equals 1. Okay. Okay, so I want you guys to try this one to see if you understand how to clear fractions. Okay, so try this one. Solve 2. This is the letter Z. My Z has a line through it. Okay, 2z plus 3 all over 3 plus 3z minus 4 all over 6 equals z minus 2 over 2. Okay, there it is. Okay, so go ahead and try this one on your own. Hit the pause button and then work it out. Come back and see if you get the same answer that I do. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to bring the problem down here. 2z plus 3 over 3 plus 3z minus 4 over 6 equals z minus 2 over 2. All right. So if you ended up with the answer z equals a -2, then you are correct. And that would be the end of this video. If you want to see this problem worked out, stick around. Okay. So the LCD here is between 3, 6, and 2 would be 6. Okay, 6 is a multiple of 3, 6 is a multiple of 6, and 6 is a multiple of 2. So that's what I'm going to multiply all of my terms by. That's what I'm going to use to get rid of my fractions. Okay, I have more than one term there, so I'm going to use parentheses. Multiply by 6. Same thing here. Going to use parentheses. And same thing over here. I'm going to use parentheses. Okay. Okay, so here 3 cancels out with 6, and I'm left with 2. So that's what I'm going to use the distributive property with. 2 times 2z is 4z plus 6. Okay, all I did was distribute the 2 in here. Okay, 6 cancels out with 6, so this is just a 1. 1 times everything inside, so that's just going to be 3z minus 4. Okay, the 2 cancels out with the 6, leaving me with 3. So I'm going to distribute 3 across here. So I'm going to get 3z minus 6. Okay, so now I don't have any more fractions. I can go ahead and combine like terms. So over here on the left-hand side, this side, I can put together the 4z and the 3z. That'll give me 7z. And I can also put together the 6 and the minus 4. Okay, and on the right-hand side, there's nothing to combine. So 3z minus 6. Okay, so now I can start my solving. And we can see here that we have a z on both sides. So I need to cancel one of these. Again, it doesn't matter which one. So I'm going to choose to subtract 3z. You don't have to. You can choose to subtract 7z. It's up to you. So these cancel. Okay, so I get 4z plus 2 equals, that's a -6. Okay. All right, so now I can finish solving this, subtract 2 on both sides. Cancels. And I'm left with 4z equals -8. Divide both sides by 4, and you should get -2. Okay, z equals -2. All right, and that is it. So make sure you keep up with the homework. Even though you have 1 week to do the homework, try to finish it in about 3 days because you get a new homework assignment every about 3-4 days. Okay, so it's not like you really have 1 week to devote to the Tuesday assignments. You have 1 week to do like 6 assignments. So you should really try to finish this first set of homework assignments within a few days. Okay? All right. I'll see you guys next time.